Hi, this is Travis Wayne Goodsell, and doing a different tangent of a video, still related to Mormonism, having to do with Mormon girls, Mormon women. Mel Gibson, as many of you probably know, did a movie decades ago about, the title of it was What Women Want. And Mel Gibson gets electrocuted and struck by lightning. and then all of a sudden can hear women's thoughts. And his psychiatrist says that it was the greatest gift a man could ever get. And yeah, he was able to either take advantage of women or assist them from preventing suicide. And yeah, it was definitely obvious that the movie was written by a woman, because the bias certainly came out. And what am I talking about with the bias? It's if as a female writer, wanting men to understand women better, she has to lie. Sorry to say that, women. The gig is up. Women are easy to understand. You lie. And the thing is that women are shown in that movie as being very insecure about themselves, about their bodies, about how they appear to others, how they behave in front of others. And that's just paranoia that has come about by psychiatrists, which I did in the previous video. And that's not the real women. The show did not represent what true women honestly think and feel if they were to think and feel for themselves, and not what others tell them to think and feel. And so now we can get into a discussion about Mormon girls, Mormon women, and how they also follow the wisdom of worldly women, because they're not supposed to, but they do. And Mormon girls are in different polar regions. They're not all the same. And you know, how do you know women, Travis? You don't know us. You haven't walked in our shoes. No, I don't fit. I have a size 13 wide. So yeah, I hope I don't fit in your shoes. And there's no way I'm going to be able to walk in high heels. Ain't going to happen. So, but I don't need to. And that's what people don't get. You don't need to have people stay away and back off of your life and get away with whatever you want to do. You can't cover up wrong behavior, wrong action, and tell people that they don't understand, you don't know them, you can't judge them, you haven't walked in my shoes. That's an incorrect thinking process. And all it is a way to keep people away from telling you that what you're doing is wrong. But I'm not here to condemn Mormon women. Technically, this is for Mormon men so that they can understand. And so yeah, like I said, I had two different wives. Both of them left me, and they are polar extremes. Not the same kind of person. Different Mormon woman, different Mormon thinking processes, and yet I've known many other women who aren't on either of those poles. So there's not a dichotomy of women. I can't categorize you into boxes, and that's what guys are looking for. They want to find a girl that's in his box that he likes and wants from a woman. And sorry guys, you can't do that, because that's going to lead to a disappointment. And if you end up getting involved with a woman, it'll end up in a breakup. And if you end up getting married to a woman in that condition, you'll end up divorced. And it may not be your fault, but it is your fault in the sense that you created a box for the woman of your dreams. And the same goes for women. You can't put men in a box. And that's part of what I'll help men understand. It's the psychiatric trap that I've been talking about in recent videos that has invaded our culture. Back in the 80s, it was I think it was Paula Abdul, Opposites Attract, or was it Jennifer Lopez, or was it somebody else? Opposites. Let me Google that for a second so I can identify the source of the philosophy. Song Opposites Attract. Paula Abdul. Yeah, I was right. Paula Abdul is the one to first alter women's thinking to think that you had to not choose somebody the same, but from the other side of the tracks. And of course you had Valley Girl with Nicolas Cage and all sorts of other movies about Cinderella stories, basically. The poor girl and the rich, successful man, and he chooses the poor girl over the rich, successful woman. And Cinderella story. And again, Cinderella is also part of the problem. And and then you get into a phase of changing this philosophy. Psychiatrists are notorious throughout history of manipulating masses of the people. And so then it became, you need to look for somebody who's the same. And previous to my generation, and it still carried over because many women are trying to say, don't look for a mother figure. You know, you had President Reagan, who called his wife mother, and that was the previous generations. And I was a part of the new generation that was rebelling against mother figures, rebelling against my mother specifically, because my mother was abusive. And yeah, I'm going to bring her to tears over this if she ends up hearing this video, listening to this video, watching this video. So my generation emerged the Mormon women being told what to look for in a Mormon man to take to the temple. And one of those things was, look for a man who loves his mother. But what about a man who's been abused by his mother? They don't help Mormon girls with this situation, because what Mormon girls are taught with, or taught about, are ideal situations, the perfect scenarios. And they don't teach women about what do you do when there is no perfect scenario, because Mormonism is all about coming to earth in a mortal body with mortal problems and mortal conditions, mortal weaknesses, and people aren't making the connection. And in Mormonism, they talk about living a celestial lifestyle and ignoring the reality of mortality. And as a result, I have witnessed women who walk away from a man who is no longer able to provide for the family because of an injury. That's the Lady Chatterley problem. The famous, I think I'm not sure what century the book was written in, if it were the 1900s or the 1800s, but the time framing is back in the I think the 1800s or early 1900s, about a man who is wounded in the war and is paralyzed, so that he has to remain in bed, and the wife is the focus of the story, and how she thinks and feels, and how she is not getting her needs met, and her emotional and sexual needs, and blah blah blah. And so she cheats on her wounded husband, who served his country in the war and got wounded. And so she betrays her husband. And we're supposed to empathize for the woman. Yeah, there are some books that are just wrong, but people embrace them in their lives. And I have seen that happen. And you have Mormon girls who refuse to marry a man if he's poor, because the family proclamation that President Hinckley put out in the Women's Session of Conference in 1995 says that it's a man's responsibility to care for the family. What if the conditions are such that the man can't take care of the family? Is he to be denied having a family? People don't think about that. You know, there's a couple in my neighborhood. The man is deaf, and so his speech illustrates how he can't hear his own speech, so that he's not able to pronounce, he's not able to speak in a manner that we are accustomed to, for those of us who can hear. And a little boy asked me, why does he talk like that? And I had to tell him he can't hear. And the boy didn't understand, but he understood not being able to hear. And so I hope the boy understood that you know, some people can be mean and abusive in thinking that they're helping people to understand. And as a result, he's not able to work at normal jobs because he's not able to fulfill job requirements of many jobs. He did get a job working for UPS because you can do unloading. I don't know if that's what he was doing, but I'm pretty sure that's what he was doing, because I worked at UPS as an unloader during Christmas one year when I was up in Idaho. And yeah, they pay great at UPS, and even though it was part-time temporary work. Yeah, he can't provide for a regular family, but he's got a wife and he's got kids. With him not able to hear, he's not able to care for kids as well as somebody who can hear, because those of us who've had kids know you need to be able to hear what's going on in the house when you have kids. And And so, unfortunately, the combination of being poor and having a father who is not normal in the eyes of others and her peers, the kids are unruly. A lot of behavioral problems as a result. And what I'm finding is that outsiders, other people, treat this family on the surface. You know, the house is a mess, so we need to, reprimand them to get it cleaned, or we need to send somebody in to clean it for them, or they don't belong in a house that they can't take care of. They shouldn't have had kids even. That gets to the extreme abuse. And it's a sad thing to hear. But Mormon women there are Mormon women who believe that they don't want to get involved with somebody who has a lot of medical needs as well. And when it's not the guy's fault, it's not really fair to him. If it is his fault because he chose to live his life like a bum and become 500 pounds so that somebody else has to clean him, feed him, and all that stuff, then yeah, that becomes a problem of his. But if it's not their fault, people need to step back and not judge by the outward appearance. Unfortunately, when marriage is concerned, people throw out their heart and get very judgmental on the outward appearance of things. And that's a big problem in Mormonism. The younger girls who are out of the house and at Brigham Young University trying to get their MRS degree, they are a little more lenient on who they're pursuing, because you can't tell if a young man is going to be successful or a dud at that young age. And so young girls simply have to look for another young man, because they're the same. They just left home, and they're both in the same religion, and they both are attracted to each other, and that's what all that matters. And it can make it. Unfortunately, the problems seep in after the marriage that gets rushed. And it's the thinking processes of the world and in the church. And like I said, when women use perfection standards upon imperfection of mortality, when it's not the man's fault. It is not the man's fault that his job will not pay him enough so that he can take care of himself, to have all his basic needs, not just food, clothing, and shelter, but transportation, communication, energy and fuel, and the whole list of other needs that the hierarchy of needs to add to their list. So yeah, I've been able to identify many other needs that are missing from the list. But yeah, you got to understand, women, don't blame victims. Like the couple in my neighborhood, people blame them. They are the victims. They shouldn't be blamed. And the church is supposed to be helping the poor and the needy. And unfortunately, in my neighborhood, the local ward does not help this family as they need to be helped. and that's a sad thing to see in a church organization. But I've already explained in other videos why that's the case. So yes, let me get back to women and how to understand women. They are highly influenced by the world, period. Before TV came out, women had to read books, and they were lucky to be able to read books, because at one point in time women were not allowed to read. It was not a woman's thing to do. It's a man's thing to be able to read. And a woman should be told what to do rather than read. So yeah, if you don't understand that, go watch Beauty and the Beast, the Disney cartoon. Gaston, what is this? It's a book. Thinking and stuff. And throws it in the mud. And then she picks it up, tries to wipe off the mud, and then sheep eat it. So, yeah, that's a great movie, but illustrates the point that women in ancient history, not too long ago, were not allowed to read books. They were not allowed to learn of what goes on in the world and such. And so when women were finally allowed to read, women were then attracted to what they read, you know, poetry and all these other types of books were able, you know, if a man would quote poetry to a woman, that would excite her, and it's a weird phenomenon, but it's tied to women finally being allowed to read for the first time ever, and so when you have the advent of TV and movies in the theater, and then eventually videos on VHS and then on DVD, and now we have them on the internet and satellite and cable and all that stuff. Women are turning away from books and turning to media, movies, music, and so if you're able to talk about a movie or a musical or a song, yeah, even musicals, that a woman likes, then all of a sudden you got her attention. And that's the key to understanding the specific woman that you're trying to woo. Because if you can watch the movies that she watches, and it's more difficult now because there are billions of movies, and so it's going to be difficult to pin down a specific few movies like in the ancient days where women had a few books that they were interested in. And so Drew Barrymore was in a Cinderella movie version. I can't remember what it was, but she had read Thomas More's Utopia, and so she was able to quote from Thomas More's book Utopia, trying to release her it was the family help, even though Cinderella, Drew Barrymore's character, also was help in the family because she was denigrated to such, as you know the story. Yeah, was he the prince? I think it was the prince. He didn't grasp it, and so yeah, men, if you want to get in good with a woman, know what she likes, and not surface stuff like the color pink or that and this and the other. The core reason why she likes the color pink, why she likes to have certain decorations, maybe a certain pet, stuffed animal, if women still do stuffed animals these days, or certain flour, or no flowers at all, because the woman has that because of a core experience. And much of our experiences nowadays come through the media. And a lot of it doesn't come from family anymore. So women don't really look for a father figure to marry anymore. That's dying out, being replaced with media father figures and boyfriend figures. And so that's a key thing to understand. But yet, you shouldn't be compelled by the woman to know all about her. And men and women don't get that in each other. You know, men expect a woman to understand that there is no secret meaning to a man when he says something. What he says is exactly what he means. There is no hidden message, there is no metaphoric speech, but that's what women do. They tie things to either the book they've read, the movie they've watched, the song they've heard, and so, you know, they give a flower to a guy, and if the guy lets the flower die, she's like, "Oh, you don't care about me." No, it has nothing to do with you. This is a guy he's not used to taking care of flowers. It's different with women, and women don't understand that, because the woman tries to trap the man into doing a secret test to see if the man is worthy for her. And you can't do that, women. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. You have to get to know the man and like him for who he is, understand him for who he is, not want to change him, not want to fix him. You have to actually say, hey, I like this guy the way he is. And you have to wait out a guy, because at first the guy is putting on his best behavior for you. He does not want you to know his real self. And the more you get to know him, the more he'll be his real self. And that's why it's important to know that. But you don't have to date for decades before finally saying, okay, I think I know him, I think he's good enough. Oh, thank you. And proceed with marriage. You can actually do the ancient Jewish practice of arranged marriages and still make a marriage work if you have the core understanding to make a marriage work, that you don't go in to change the other person, that you go in knowing your role in the relationship, both man and woman. And so, unfortunately, with all the opportunities in our days, we don't have we don't have an agricultural society anymore. And so the roles are changed in our day and age. And after World War II was when that role began to change. And America is still struggling with the pains of growth and progress. And so, yeah, men can't expect women to change, and women can't expect men to change. Because what happens is that when you get into rush into marriage, the guy now has the thinking, she chose me, she likes me, and so he's able to relax and be himself. He doesn't pursue trying to woo you with chocolates and flowers and stuffed animals, or whatever it is that he did. And that's what women don't get. See, when a man stops giving you the chocolates and the flowers and the teddy bears, that means he now loves you. He trusts you. Because he now has confidence that you like him. But women you don't see it that way, do you? Instead, you wonder, what happened? Is it me? Do I not look right? Am I now letting myself go? Do I need to dress up more now? Do I need to, hide my body so that he doesn't see that I'm getting fat, or whatever paranoia that a woman comes up with, blaming herself for why the guy is all of a sudden changing. He hasn't changed. He just now is confident and assured and trusts you now. But unfortunately, women who don't understand this take it out on the man. You've changed. You're not the same. Why don't you take me out on dates anymore? And oftentimes it's because you now have kids. But that's why, women. So relax. There's nothing to get stressed out about. The guy married you. He chose you over all other women. Do you honestly think you chose a complete loser who couldn't get any other women? Think about that for a minute. Are you doing this as charity? Oh, I married you because you couldn't get another woman. No, you don't pick that way, do you? So relax. It's okay. And oh man, can you imagine the heart of a man who was told that he was a charity case? And yet women do that when dancing at dances. They do charity dances. But they don't do that for marriages. So yes, you break men's hearts during the dating scene, but in the marriage scene, you choose who you want. And unfortunately, you've got to wait until the man stops giving you the flowers and the roses and the chocolates. And you may find a guy who will keep doing that if you allow him to keep doing that. Because then he's conditioned because you respond to him giving it to you. And so he keeps giving it to you until you decide to marry him. I saw that at Rick's college. Many guys daily going to women, wooing them with whatever gift they could come up with on their tight budget or their parents' budget. And so if it was a parent's budget, yeah, they were more successful. Yeah, it's difficult. Women love to have attention. They love having guys like them. And so understand that when a man stops after marriage, that's why. And it's okay. And yes, you might have loved it because of the way you felt when you got those gifts. So now you just have to change gears to say, okay, he's not giving it to me. He loves me more. He trusts me now. And so now you got to make sure you keep that trust and not attack him for not doing the things he used to do during the dating relationship. Because once you start attacking him, all of a sudden he's going, wait a minute, I thought she trusted me. She said yes, and I trusted her. And so as a result, once you start attacking your husband in the marriage, you break your husband's heart. And as a guy, we don't necessarily want to appear as being the beaten up puppy. We want to show that we're tough. And And that's when guys can act out violently or angrily in retaliation because you hurt them, and they don't understand why you're changing, because you are changing, but you think it's because he's changed, and he hasn't really changed except to change for the better. See, you've fixed him. You've given him hope in women. You've given him someone to trust. And then you betrayed him and stabbed him in the heart. You gotta stop. We men are fragile creatures. We hurt easily. And so, you know, how do you think your grandpa became that awesome father figure? You know, it's because he had been married to your grandmother for so long. And so just relax, you know. And if you give him a baby, you know, it's okay. You know, just be careful. During the first few weeks, I'm not sure exactly how many weeks you have to wait, but you gotta start your cravings after that time period. It's important, women. This is key to helping alleviate further stress after the baby comes. Because I don't know if you're being told this, but if you eat for two before there's fully two that's actually eating, you'll keep that weight after the baby's born. And so as much as you get the cravings, try to hold off until that period of time is over with and the baby is big enough that it starts zapping from you so that you need to eat more. So understand that, just as an educational thing for you. But because the guy trusts you, it's okay to get a little pudgy. It's okay to not dress up like you did when you were dating. Again, he now trusts you. So it's okay. You know, you don't want to go to pot. You know, let yourself loose and you know, get obese. But the natural course of growing up into a woman with children, there's nothing to fear about how your husband's going to feel. He's not going to want to pursue younger, hotter women. He's not dumb. He trusts you. As long as you don't betray that trust, he'll stick by you. And it's a weird thing, and I know you women don't understand it. But men are really simple and easy to understand. And I mean, you know when a guy likes you, but you don't understand the marriage part of it. Nobody's teaching you about guys during a marriage. Guys aren't knowing about a woman after the marriage. But that's pretty much it. So guys, I hope you understand. You don't want to marry a woman who is caught up in the philosophies of the world. That she's choosing you because she thinks that you'll have cute babies, or she's choosing you because you're rich, or she's choosing you because of some category she's placed you in. You want to avoid women like that. And unfortunately, the majority of women are like that. And so that's why it's necessary to put women out of their comfort zone when you're dating. Because the response that a woman gives will inform you real quick as to whether they're going to be worth marrying and whether they'll stick with you for the long term. If they can understand why you're no longer dating like you did. And so women, you can't force a man to do things. Can't do it. You can't tell him that he's got to, get ahead at work. He's got to get a better job. He's got to make more money. He's got to give you things when it's business that you need to be focusing your frustration with, not your husband. And we don't live in a good society. We live in a corrupt society. And it's not just because of mortality, it's because of corruption. And we need to put down that corruption and have a more peaceful, idealistic society. And so, yeah, any couple can get together and make it work as long as they understand that. So all this talk about men are from Mars, women are from Venus, that's all crap. And again, they're trying to place people in boxes. Men in the box of Mars, women in the box of Venus. That dichotomy, polarization. No, that's not the way it is. It doesn't work that way. My first wife, she was Mormon. However, her parents, her mother, came from a converted family. Her father was the born and raised Mormon family. And so her mother had a lot of worldly philosophies because of her parents. And so she was, for more women's rights and equality in the church. And the church suppresses women, and so that passed on to my first wife of mine. And when she got together with a group of husband bashers, yes, husband bashers, that's not name calling on my part, they actually got together and bashed on their husbands. And I was stuck because, she needs to associate with better caliber of people. And I was trying to get her to spend more time with the Pennies. Mrs. Penny, Sister Penny, if you want to call her a Mormon, because she was Mormon. But she was a good influence. She did not associate with the other husband bashers. And she was the quality of woman that I wanted my wife to associate with. My wife, however, chose not to. And so, as she became psychologically manipulated by this group, she then believed what they were telling her. And so she then behaved and acted out what she believed from this group, and I was severely abused in the last months of our marriage. And she sabotaged the marriage, even though she was playing the victim, that I was the bad guy. And that's what happens when you get psychologically manipulated by the world and the world's philosophies. And then the second marriage, again, pioneer family, both sides. And so she was all about wanting the ideal man who loves God and Heavenly Father, and who wears the garments, and who is faithful in the church, and that wasn't really what she wanted. That was what she was told she wanted. And there are many, many, many Mormon women who are like that, who are told what they're supposed to look for, like some checkbox thing. And even though they don't have an actual checkbox, I hope, they still pursue men in that fashion. So guys, We know when a woman likes us or not. She wants to spend time with you. That's it. If she's wanting to spend time with you and makes time for you, she likes you and she's giving you a try. And if she doesn't like you, she doesn't want anything to do with you. And so if you keep pushing, you're just going to make it worse. Now, some women have been abused, and so they don't know that you're a good guy. And so you've got to lay low on the gifts, and you need to do more of the buddy thing, being kind, and not trying to give her the full court press. And unfortunately, there are lots of women who are now being abused, and so that's something to watch out for. And yeah, if a woman comes on to you with a full court press, you need to back off. Now, why? Because sex is great and all, but if that's what she's pursuing, she's wanting to get married right away. If she's holding on to a religious belief, if she's a woman of the world, you definitely want to stay away with any woman who wants to have sex with you immediately. You can't trust such a person. They have no commitment in mind. They just want gratification. And they are taught in the world to pursue gratification first, and if you can turn it into love, then you can marry such a person. And that it doesn't work, and millions are finding that out as they're suffering. And so yeah, you need to be able to recognize commitment in the other person, that they will actually love you for who you are. Goes for both men and women. Because yes, when a guy gives you chocolates and flowers and stuff, he's infatuated, he finds you attractive. And so yeah, you need to find out if he actually likes your mind. You know, you already know he likes your body, so you don't need to enhance your body. You already got his attention for that. That's why he's coming to you and taking an interest in you and wanting to pursue you. So you don't need to keep showing him what he already knows. Now you need to let him know that you have a mind. And that's important. And you can say, oh, well, I need him to know that I have a spirit, a spiritual side. And okay, if you fully understand your religion's spiritual side, which Mormons don't, as you can tell by my other videos. And so that's why it's important to do different things, not do the same thing over and over again. And it can be difficult because circumstances may not allow it. And so, yeah, for a guy, find out where she gets her source of beliefs from. If it truly is from the scriptures, which in most cases it's not, great. Make sure you find out which passages has influenced her. And so, yeah, if you find out that she's reading the Book of Mormon on a regular basis and actually doing in-depth study, talk to her about it. Let her tell you what she's learned from that. And that will give you an idea of how she's thinking. So when one person said in a marriage relationship, the man is supposed to preside and therefore assign who's supposed to say prayers when. And another person has said that if you ask your wife to say the prayer, you can then understand what is on her mind. And so yeah, I put that to use in the first marriage and in the second one. And yes, I knew my wives very well, and I knew exactly that it was going to end because of that situation. There was nothing I could do about it. They had already made up their minds. And once that happens, once they get down the dark path, down the Sith path, you've lost them. And you can't pull them back because they're stuck in that belief system. Just like Mormons who leave the Mormon church, they can't get other Mormons to join them. And it's the same situation. You can't convert a Mormon to the truth. Just like you can't convert a woman who's made up her mind to the truth. And so this is going to be an hour. People actually listening? I asked another question at the end of a long video, and I did actually have a couple of people respond, because that's what I did in my video, is say, if you've gotten this far, please comment. I would like to know if anybody's gotten this far. You don't have to on this one, and I don't want likes and dislikes. I don't care about those. If you do, great, whatever. Now I know that a Mormon boy is going to, who's stalking me, trolling me, is going to put a thumbs down. He's not even bothered going to listen to this. You know, he's going to think he's the cool guy who's anonymous, so that other women can be warned against this video. Not knowing that I'm also helping him, because I'm sure he's suffering in the female category, getting a woman to like him. Yeah, it's a sad situation, and so yeah, I'll share something personal. I've been on dating sites, and you know, before I got married to the second wife, I had lots of takers, but now that I'm divorced a second time, I can't get a bite at all. And it could be a combination of factors, being out of the church and not saying on my file, I'm an active Mormon and I'm looking for an active woman who's in the church who's serious about it, and I want to have kids and a family, and you know, that's flattery, pacification, and deception. That comes from the Book of Mormon. You're not supposed to do that because that's Lucifer's tactics. So if a guy is flattering you, he's lying to you. Just because he's giving you gifts does not mean he's flattering you. Flattering is when you ask, hey, does this dress make me look fat? And he says, oh no, wow, you have, your butt is just like Jennifer Lopez's. That used to be a thing, because women would, yeah, anyway. You know, you force a man to flatter you. You can't do that, because an honest man is going to say something you're not going to like, even though it's the right thing for him to say, and it should be the thing that makes you go, oh, you love me. So yeah, and you definitely don't want him deceiving you, you know, not telling you how he thinks. But understand, he doesn't care about color coordination. He doesn't care if your hairstyle is different. Again, he trusted you. That's why he married you. And so if you're trying to trap him into testing him throughout the marriage to make sure he still trusts you, you're making a big mistake, and you're going to cause damage in the marriage. Don't do it. Don't force him to be somebody he's not. And it's just going to ruin the marriage. Okay, we're closing on an hour. I think I've covered most of the topics. I hope this has helped the younger generation coming from an old grandpa figure like me. And so, it's exciting to be away from home and to be around so many of the opposite sex in one location. If you're at BYU or BYU Idaho, it's Rick's. And, or singles wards as they have here in Utah. So understand that I'm speaking out of wisdom. I'm not speaking to hurt you or criticize you or make fun of you. Women are great, they're cute, but they can be horrible. So don't fall for it. So I hope that helps. Excuse me, both men and women. And hopefully we can have marriages strengthened again, so that the new rising generation can do it right. Because the path that we've taken, that psychiatry has caused upon us, and I've discussed that in the other video, hopefully we can break that chain and get back to loving people and quit the segregation that's going on. If both parents have to work, that's because of the economy. That's because of the way the government won't help families. That's the cause. Blame the families. And if the church won't help poor people and needy people, that's the church's fault. Don't let them bully you into thinking you're to blame. And don't blame victims. If there are other people who made the choice, even though they're not the ideal family, even the rich and successful, and don't take it out on them. They need help, and they shouldn't be punished for needing help. So, in the ideal situation, if everybody was equal and had all things in common, as Jesus's counter-revolutionary economy did, you would be able to choose whoever you wanted to, and everything would be happy and great, because he'd be successful, and you'd have everything that you wanted. So understand that we're not there. We don't have those luxuries. So be nice to each other. Be kind. Okay.